how's it going? I'm so happy to have you here with me today. I love it that you're joining me or whenever you are listening to or watching. That's great. Love it. Have you ever thought that you were recording something only to find out that you weren't? Yeah, that just happened to me. I just went through my whole entire episode and thinking that I was recording only to find out that I wasn't. So that was a good warm up for me. Here we are. I am recording now. So we are good to go. Today, like I said, we are talking about cruising, ocean cruising to be exact. And ocean cruising has a really soft place in my heart, has a really good place. I love it. When I first started out as a travel advisor over 20 years ago, I was trained in everything, like how to help people with any type of trip or any type of travel. But what I actually started out doing the most of for it was probably a year or two. And I would say 90 to 95% of everything that I did was cruises, ocean cruises, booking cruises for people. And so I learned about cruises really fast because that's what I was doing. I was super busy just pricing and booking and helping everybody with all their cruising. So I have been doing cruises and in the cruise world for a lot of years, for a long time. So I'm excited to talk about this topic today. And now I totally do everything, not just cruises. I do so many other types of trips, but it's fun to talk about cruising every so often. So let's jump in. Ocean cruises are the thrill of traveling plus the ultimate relaxation of a floating resort. There are so many misconceptions about booking and sailing on cruises that today, hopefully, I can help cut through some of those and set the record straight. So grab your life jacket and let's dive in. We are going to talk about 9 of the top ocean cruise myths and how to navigate that world a little bit. So myth number 1, cruises are for older people. I feel like this myth is one that isn't quite as prevalent now as it used to be. I think a few years ago, that was a common misconception. Now people, I think, understand that there are cruises for all ages. Cruises cater to families with little kids, to young couples, to solo travelers, and to old people. So they cater to really everybody. There are even cruises that are adults only cruises. And they don't let any kids on board. And those are ocean cruises. I'm not just talking about river cruises. Yeah. So there's a huge variety. If you have a child that is going to be 6 months old at least by the time you sail, then for most cruises, you are allowed to take that child. And there are so many fun activities for kids on cruises that cater to children or that have family programs. There are some great activities. You can actually have a family vacation, an entire family vacation, not just a getaway where mom and dad are still mom and dad, and you're still trying to, organize and coordinate and do all the things and still be mom and dad. And so that you don't really get a vacation, but your kids are having a good time. No. On a cruise, you can totally have the type of vacation that everybody has a good time because there are kids programs and all kinds of activities for them to do. There's babysitting even for the little tiny ones. And there are ways that you can totally enjoy your cruise no matter what age you are. So like I said, there's a wide variety of different cruise types and there's a wide variety of entertainment. There are ships with water parks and zip lines, Broadway style shows. There's rock climbing walls. There's race tracks. There's, so many different activities and entertainment. But the activities do vary by ship. So don't just assume that when you book any type of a cruise that it's going to be exactly what you were wanting. Make sure you ask those questions. Make sure that you really understand what your cruise is going to be like. One example that I have is Mindy and Bryce. Now, I have known Mindy since she was just a little girl. I've been friends with her mom and dad and watched her grow up, and she's married to Bryce, and several years ago they wanted to go on their own couples getaway, get away from their kids and go on a cruise. And so they asked me about different cruises, and I told them, I gave them a bunch of different options and with different pricings and ideas. And their biggest focus at the time was itinerary and price. And so they booked a cruise that they thought was going to be fabulous, and they booked it based on price and itinerary. Well, when they got back, they said, it was fun, but we didn't know that we were going to be the only ones our age on the ship, and we didn't really pay attention to the different activities that were and weren't offered on the ship. They had been so focused on only price and only itinerary, going to the different Caribbean islands that they wanted to get to, that they hadn't paid attention to the information I was giving them on the general age of people on board and the different activities that were offered and things like that. And so, lesson learned, in the future, they started to pay a lot more attention to a lot of the different aspects of the whole idea of cruising, not just getting the ship and working on the best price. So that is just a little word to the wise. Myth number 2, booking a cruise is complicated and time consuming. There are so many ship choices, so many itineraries, so many cabin types. There's the question of how old is your ship? How big is your ship? What activities are on board? What's included in the price? All right, I have a suggestion for you. You knew I was going to say this. Use a travel advisor. Use me. That's what I'm here for, is to help guide you in what ship choices there are, what itineraries there are, what type of cabin that you might or might not want to book, how old the ship is, how big the ship is, what activities are on board, what's included in the price. I can answer all of those questions for you about whatever ship that you are thinking about or whatever options that there are out there. I will guide you through everything, including the best time to go for you and based on, your parameters. I also have access to all of the insider information about the cruise lines, about the destinations, about the promotions. One example that I have about this is my friend Jeheza. So she wasn't my friend before. I didn't even know her, but she knew somebody who I had helped with travel. And so she came to me and she said, I've got all these adult kids. I've got, a couple that are still at home, some that are married, some that are not. And I really want to do a family cruise. And we want to go to Alaska. And this is kind of the time frame that we want to go, but I'm so overwhelmed with it all. And we've just been talking about it for months and we just can't get anything figured out and decided. I don't even know how much it would be. I don't know anything. And so she told me, the number of people and all the details of what she wanted. And I totally was able to get her some prices. I got her prices that very same day. And by the next day, she had deposit paid. Like, it was so easy. It was so fast. And she was just blown away at how quick of a process it was once she started talking to me, and I could help her narrow down the choices and I could tell her what the choices were and all the things. So it does not have to be a complicated and time-consuming thing. It can be quick. All right. Myth number 3, cruises are crowded and lack privacy. Yes, cruise ships can accommodate a large number of people. True, true, true. Nobody is going to dispute that, and that is a complete fact. However, they are designed to provide space so that people can have their own place to be in certain places on the ship. So some ideas are, if you are one that would really like to have space of your own and kind of some private space, I would recommend a more spacious cabin. There are some that are bigger than others. I would also recommend possibly getting a cabin with a balcony so that you have your own space that you can open up the that cabin door. You can sit out on the balcony. There's a table and a couple of chairs out there. And so you can really enjoy your own private space. Now, if you want quiet spaces throughout the ship or places that are a little more removed and not in the middle of all the crowds, there are all kinds of hidden corners and quiet spaces. You just have to find them. There are some secluded lounges. Of course, you can go to the spa, which is always this amazing, serene getaway. That I love spas. You know that. There's smaller restaurants that you can go to. There are all kinds of places. One example of finding kind of more of a secluded space is I was on a cruise one time, and the ship had been built with the idea of Alaskan cruising in mind. The cruise I was on wasn't an Alaska cruise. It was a Caribbean cruise, but it had this amazing observation lounge that was on one of the decks, and it was filled with floor to ceiling windows all in the front of the ship. And so, which is a perfect, scenario for an Alaska cruise where you want to see all the scenery. On the cruise that we were on, mostly you just see, the ocean in front, which is interesting to watch also. But this lounge, not very many people knew about it. It wasn't like in a hugely populated spot. And it was a big lounge. There was lots of little chairs, tables, couches, all the things there was a snack bar there. I mean, it really was a nice little area, but there were very few people there throughout the whole entire cruise. It got a little busier as the cruise went on and more people found it, but it was such a nice space that it was always pretty quiet and a pretty great place to go. Like, we would go and play some games there with some of the people that I was with, and just it was really a fun, quiet place that we found on board. So there are places like that on board different ships that you can find to not be so crowded and to kind of have your own quiet spot. Okay, myth number 4, you will get seasick. Seasickness is a real fear, and it's a real thing for sure. Large modern ships that we have nowadays have really advanced stabilizers to minimize the rocking and rolling of a ship. If you are susceptible to motion sickness, here's a pro tip. Book a cabin that is midship and lower down, because you'll feel the motion more if you are on a higher deck and if you are at the forward or the back of the ship. And so you'll feel it more the higher up you are, and forward and back. So there are also wristbands, there are patches, there are medications, like so many great things that you can use to help with your seasickness or motion sickness. Also, it's nice to know that the vast majority of cruise itineraries stick to calmer waters. They're not going to seek out the rocky ocean waters, and so that everybody will be sick. Of course, they're not going to do that. So, but seasickness is a thing with some people, me included. I am very prone to motion sickness. I get seasick on every boat that I go on that's out in the ocean. So I totally get it. I understand your fear. If you are one that is afraid of possibly getting seasick, or that you get seasick, talk to me. I'll tell you the things that I have done. I don't let seasickness stand in the way of going on a cruise or enjoying myself on a cruise the way that I, want to do. So one experience that I had was several years ago. We were going on an Alaska cruise. I had never been on an Alaska cruise before. And in looking at the map shows the ship really sticks close to shore. Like, that's what you're doing. You're sailing just along the Alaskan coast. And so I thought, I don't know, I might not even be seasick at all. Like, this might be my first cruise that I never get seasick on. So I was kind of excited to find out. I didn't take anything. It was the first day of the cruise. We left the shore and sailed away, and I was fine. That first night, I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And the next day I was fine. But then by the next afternoon, that second day in the afternoon, we started to get out into open water, and we were, away from the shore a little bit into open seawater, and I totally got sick. So, but I just took something and I was great the rest of the cruise. That's not to say that that's what will be your experience. It all depends on, your level of seasickness, but there are great things to take. Please don't let your fear of getting sick keep you from cruising if you want to. If cruising is something that you have a desire to do, or everybody in your family wants to do, and you really don't want to hold them back, that's okay. That's my experience. Nobody else in my family gets seasick like I do, but I just know I just take my stuff and I'm good to go. And I can have just as fun of an experience as they do. So, okay. Myth number 5, cruises are for people who love to dress up. Okay. Sometimes this is true. There are still formal nights offered for people who do like to dress up, but there's no strict requirement, even on cruise ships that have more of a dress code in the evenings. 7-night cruises typically have 2 dressy evenings, and shorter cruises will just have 1. Longer cruises have more than 2. Anyway, but even the dressy evenings, I have seen people that are wearing everything from, these formal tuxes and evening gowns, which you would think of as being formal, which some people really love to do that. And it's fun to see them all dressed up. But I have seen everything from that to basically a man wearing a golf shirt and closed-toed shoes and some nice pants, and the woman wearing like a pantsuit or, semi-casual kind of skirt or something like that. So dressing up is really subjective, and people can dress up or not as much or as little as they want to, even on the dress up nights. Most cruises have a more relaxed resort casual kind of feel rather than a totally dressy feel. So if you want to dress up, I have good news. There are times you can dress up. If you don't want to dress up, I have good news. You don't have to dress up. So it can be, it's really a lot more level playing field of just personal preference. Also, good news, you can always eat at the buffet, even on a dress-up night. And you might be thinking, buffet, why would I want to go to the buffet on, wouldn't I want to get better food at the sit-down restaurant? You won't necessarily always get better food at the sit-down restaurant. Yes, there is amazing food at the main restaurants, but buffets also can have amazing food. I have had prime rib before at a buffet. I've had lobster at a buffet. So don't think that buffet always means, oh, well, that's just the lesser food. Not necessarily. So, however, there are cruise lines with a more casual feel. There are cruise lines with a more dressy feel. So know what you want and kind of what you're getting into before you go so that you can be prepared. So just ask me and let's talk about that if dressing up or not dressing up is kind of a thing. Myth number 6, cruises are expensive and not worth the money. So while it is true that cruising can be a substantial investment, I also believe that it's worth every penny. So think of everything that your cruise includes: accommodations, dining, entertainment, and transportation to all these different destinations. Like, that's amazing, right? You don't have to pay piecemeal for all of those different things. Another way to offset the total cost of cruising is that cruise lines often offer different promotions. Like sometimes they'll offer onboard credit promotions. Onboard credit is credit that you have to spend on board. You can spend it on like just things like the shops or things on board. Every ocean cruise line has some shops on board that you can buy things at. But there are also excursions that you can spend it on, beverage packages, dining packages, like there's all kinds, spa packages, there's all kinds of things on board that you can spend onboard credit on. Sometimes cruise lines offer free upgrades. Often they offer discounted fares. And so there's all kinds of ways to get better value for your money. And I can help you find those promotions. Like, that's what I'm here for, is to help you with that. Cruise lines, the investment that you will spend on a cruise is definitely worth it, I feel like, and they don't have to be super expensive. Myth number 7. The worst time to cruise is during hurricane season. This is a total myth. Hurricane season is usually late summer through fall, and it actually can be one of the very best times to cruise, partly because of pricing. There is better pricing when the kids go back to school and we're between holidays and there's no school breaks and stuff. So there are some amazing prices during hurricane season. Also, cruise ships avoid the high wind areas. Cruise ships are not going to sail you through a tropical storm. They're totally going to avoid those areas all the time, which makes complete sense. So you may have to stop at a different port rather than stopping at the one that was originally scheduled. If that one has a tropical storm or something, some bad weather, you may have to stop somewhere different. So if you are willing to be flexible, some of the best times to cruise can be during hurricane season, during the fall and the time, late summer, when kids are back in school. Myth number 8. You'll feel trapped on a cruise ship and just have limited options. So this is a complete myth. Cruise ships are like floating cities. There's tons of activities, tons of dining options, lots of entertainment on board. You can lounge by the pool, catch a show that's like Broadway type production show, participate in a cooking class, a spa treatment, play onboard games and activities that they have. Some examples are, every cruise, I think, has like a bingo afternoon or bingo day or bingo evening or whatever. A lot of them, most of them have like art shows and things like that if you want to look for and buy some artwork. They play fun games like Family Feud, and they actually use people from the audience. They have times that are like 80s trivia songs. See how many of the 80s songs you can name if they play a little excerpt from it. All kinds of different things like that. So there's all kinds of stuff like that going on board all the time. And you, of course, are free to do as much or as little of it as you like. You can explore a new port. You can take an excursion or not. Some people believe that you have to book an excursion in order to be able to get off the ship and go explore. That is not true. You can get off the ship at any port where you dock, and you can just go explore on your own. You can just hang out on the beach. You can take a taxi somewhere. You can do whatever you feel like doing completely on your own, as long as you're back on the ship in time for it to sail again. So you can relax by the pool with a good book. Whatever you feel like, you can do. It's your vacation. And chances are there are so many things to do on board that by the end of your cruise, you will not have sampled everything there is to do. You will have missed stuff. And so that's why you have the luxury of booking another cruise at another time. Okay, here we are on the last myth. Myth number 9. Last minute bookings get the best deals. This is a myth. The days of getting cut rate cruise prices right before you sail are gone. That does not work anymore. Some lesser sailed ships and itineraries do have lower prices 60 to 90 days before sailing. So sometimes 60 to 90 days before that cruise leaves, you will see some lower prices as they are attempting to, get more interest and more bookings on the ship. But the most popular high demand cruises will have much higher prices shortly before sailing because they are so booked. They just don't have room. They're raising their prices because they can get higher prices right before they sail. So booking last minute means that you have to take whatever cabins happen to be left over. So if you want to get cabins close by somebody or a certain type of cabin or whatever, you may or may not be able to find that if you wait last minute. So just as a point of information, cruise lines come out with their fares 18 to 24 months in advance. And often they do offer the best prices that early because they want to incentivize people who are looking and want to book early. So that is a great time to book. Booking early ensures that you get your pick of cabins, you get your pick of dining times. It really gives you the best options for when you are booking. Here's a pro tip. If you book early and a better sale comes along between when you first book and when the final payment is due, I can usually get that, almost always get that better price for you. And you don't have to sacrifice the cabin that you're in or the dining time or anything. I can keep your booking the same, except just with a lower price. That is true. So think about that. You can book a cruise. Let's say you book your cruise a year in advance. We get the good price, whatever the price is at the time that you book it. And you're all deposited and you're going and you're in certain cabins and you know exactly everything that's going on with this cruise. But then let's say that the cruise ship a couple months later offers this really great sale. I can get you that sale and you haven't changed anything other than to lower your price. So sometimes that has happened with people 2 and 3 times. They book far enough in advance that the rates change over a couple different times. Sometimes the lowest price that we got right at the beginning is the best price. And they are so glad as we watch the prices go up and up and up as it gets closer to their cruise. And they are so glad that they locked in when they did. So you never know. It's really just up and down depending on how many people are booking that cruise that you are on and how quickly that is selling out. But it's really an amazing option to book early and then just kind of wait and see what the prices do. So I have had people contact me at the last minute who have been very disappointed that they haven't been able to book what they were sure was going to be, oh, these great sales and these great deals, but they have lost out on the cruise that they wanted within just, a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before they were actually going. So my pro tip is always book as early as you possibly can, and then let's watch for the prices to go down. If you do happen to book within that 60 to 90 day window and you're getting a great deal, then that is awesome. That is wonderful. I love that. I love it when we get great deals for people, but you never know how that's going to be. So let's wrap it up. We've gone through our 9 myths, and hopefully you are feeling a little more savvy about ocean cruising. Don't let one of these myths deter you from enjoying the world of cruising. Booking a cruise is stress-free. It is suitable for all ages. It is relaxing or on the go, whatever you are looking for. And if you are looking forward to a sensational journey filled with unforgettable moments, I can make an ocean cruise happen for you. Just contact me and let me know what you're interested in. Let me know what your priorities are, and let's have all those conversations, talk through everything, and I'd be happy to help you with whatever your cruise interest looks like. I can help you out. So thanks for being with me. Hopefully you've had a good time learning more about the cruise myths that are out there, and we'll talk to you next time. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I would invite you to like, share, or leave a review. Let's help grow our wellness travel community.